Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Within Warzone gameplay right now, obviously things are very different from the past year with the new MW3 integration, movement, gunplay, the map. Pretty much all the core things are going to be, feeling quite different if you played a lot of Warzone 2. And with that, there are quite a few more obvious mistakes that you could be making in game, whether it be with some of your settings that you're using that are limiting you, or with some of the gameplay mechanics that you are utilizing that are hindering your ability to win more games, get more kills, whatever the case may be. So today, I'm breaking down a handful of these mistakes and talking about how you might want to avoid them for future reference. So as we get into it, if you enjoy the video or if you find it helpful, do me a favor, drop a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. And if you're new to the channel or you simply have not subscribed yet, every single day I got you covered with all things you need to know between MW3 and Warzone. So feel free to hit that subscribe button to always stay up to date. Now, getting into the first few tips here, I do want to focus on a couple of quick settings that you want to change that are just going to make your life a lot easier within Warzone gameplay. So the first mistake you could be making is using a circle minimap. There quite literally is zero reason to be using a circle minimap right now because the square version just shows you more. Straight up, like it is so night and day there. You get more coverage using a square minimap. So if someone is 45 meters away from you shooting a red dot, you could be seeing that on the square minimap and not be seeing that on the circle minimap, and that is quite literally the difference of potentially pushing for that kill or knowing that that squad is over there, and perchance you don't see those red dots because you're using a circle minimap. They push you from that side, you're in the gulag all of a sudden. That could have been avoided very easily by using the square minimap. So always have that on. Another setting that is going to make a serious impact on your gameplay is the tap options in your interact and reload behavior. Now, some people here are going to prefer tap to interact, which is always tapping to interact and then always holding to reload. Others are going to prioritize interact more, which allows you to use both, but it just depends on the situation. Sometimes you could be tapping to interact or you could hold to reload, and sometimes you could tap to reload if there's nothing around to interact with. Either way, using one of these, whichever one you find to be more comfortable, I'd recommend testing out both. Using these is going to make your gameplay much more seamless and much more fluid, and that's really the end goal here. You can quickly loot chests and quickly pick things up off the ground rather than having to stop, hold your button to actually open the chest, hold your button to loot it. It's going to be way quicker. This is going to help in early game when you're landing, trying to get guns up to fight people that are right next to you or maybe flying over you. It's going to help with interacting with the world, doors, zip lines, all sorts of stuff like that. And then lastly, when it comes to the settings real quick here, this is actually one that they just updated with a hotfix update when Warzone had the integration update go live. And that is the slide maintains sprint option in your gameplay settings. And with this, it's a huge change because it's basically just going to make your slide canceling more fluid and more seamless when you are integrating this into your gameplay. Previously, I think this setting was slide cancel sprint instead. So obviously you'd want to have that off because you didn't want your slide to be canceling your sprint. Now though, they changed it so that it maintains it. So you just want to flip that to the inverse and have this as on, and it'll make it so you're not getting those dead slides. It feels like when you're trying to maintain consistent slide cancels in your gameplay. Like I said, fluidity and the ability to have seamless gameplay is right away just a huge difference maker, a huge game changer overall. And this is another one you really want to focus on to just have that available and readily available, I guess, at any point in gameplay where you might need it. And speaking of sliding, there are also some mistakes you might be making here. And really the big one is thinking that using slide canceling or sliding mechanics in general is the best way to get the fastest movement from point A to point B in game. Basically, if you were unaware, and it's unfortunate that we don't have this live in Warzone as of now, there is a basic stamina bar in game, and it's something you can actually see on your screen in multiplayer and zombies. And the stamina bar relates to tac sprint, which is the fastest way to get from point A to point B on foot in MW3 and Warzone. And when you're trying to regenerate the stamina bar and get back up to max so you can tac sprint again, every time you slide, it's actually pausing it. It's not allowing it to continue to refill there. So the more you are sliding after a tac sprint, the longer in theory it's going to take to get back to that tac sprint capable time. So that's actually something that is going to regenerate over time as you're sprinting. Even your tac sprint will automatically refresh as you are sprinting. And on top of that, you could use something like an infantry vest to get that refresh even faster. But really, It seems like the focus for slide canceling this year is to use that as a movement mechanic in gunfights to outmaneuver enemies, and not as something you need to spam to get across the map from point A to point B. So don't think that because you're slide canceling all the time that you're going to actually be moving faster and navigating the world quicker, because that actually is not the case right now. I also want to talk a little bit about aim here and weapon choice, because there are some simple mistakes that you could be making right now that are actually severely limiting you in certain fights. The first tip here is focused primarily on mid to long range, especially with emphasis on the long range gunfights. Aiming idle sway. This is a stat that definitely shines more on MW2 guns, and I'll talk more on that here in just a second, but this is the weapon sway that you have when you are aimed down sights, and this causes a bit of that RNG in your weapon's behavior, in your recoil patterns, and in how a weapon would feel over a long range, because every weapon has it, and there are certain attachments in this game that do end up hurting that quite a bit. So the main mistake you're making here is that you're looking at the advanced stats tab, for instance, and a lot of the time this will be attachments that help out with control, but they hurt your sway. Currently in the detailed stats page, there is no way that they display aiming idle sway. So attachments that boost this a ton, like some of the underbarrels, they don't actually show how much they're boosting this. Attachments that really destroy aiming idle sway, that's not actually translated with percentages and with numbers on the advanced stats page. So you could be destroying that and really hurting your gun's behavior without even realizing it. So definitely pay attention to some of those pros and cons, because not all those stats are actually, you know, like I said, translated to the detailed stats. So you might overlook that and end up making a big mistake with your setups there. Also, speaking of, you know, weapons and heavy idle sway, straight up right now, MW2 guns over long range are at a distinct disadvantage simply because of how they behave. They do have a little bit more noticeable idle sway, but the main thing here is their visual recoil and the weapon noise. So like the bounce and the shake of the sights that you're using there too, it's a lot worse on MW2 guns versus MW3 guns. And there are some MW2 guns that are easier to use than others, and you could use those for range. But for the most part, if you're building your loadouts and you're trying to force MW2 weapons into your super long range playstyles, you are just straight up putting yourself at a disadvantage versus the MW3 guns, because those are inherently easier to use. So definitely, you know, focus on that when you're making your setups. Yes, there are plenty of fun MW2 guns, but there are distinct differences that make them worse than MW3 guns at long distances right now. Hey everyone, it's holiday season, and if you're looking for the perfect stocking stuffer or gift this year, look no further than G Fuel. Whether you're trying to treat yourself this holiday season or pick up something for some friends or some family, G Fuel's got you covered with a little bit of something for everyone. Whether you're trying to restock on your favorite flavors, maybe try something new, they got the tubs, the starter kits, even just some straight up shaker cups if you're looking to grab a new one of those. If you want to pick up anything at all from the G Fuel sites, be sure to go ahead and throw in code IMMORTAL at checkout for that nice little discount. Link for that will be down in the description below if you're interested. You heard me talking about the stats pages earlier with the Gunsmith. The pro and con list for the most part is pretty good this year, and you can always verify by checking the advanced and the detailed stats page, and I would recommend you do that. But do not always build your setups simply based off of pro and con options there. Sometimes it'll say a weapon is getting worse ADS, but it's actually helping, or sometimes it's getting worse vertical control, but the detailed stats say it's actually slightly better vertical control. So there are some glaring issues still with the pro and con list on the menu. Don't always just solely go off of that when building your loadouts, because they're not always 100% accurate. Also, something else I do want to take note of real quick that definitely is a important thing to know just overall, whether you're playing multiplayer or Warzone, is about the firing range. This is a super useful space. Obviously, you can test your builds here, look at your optics to see if you like certain ones there with your reticles or iron sights. You can test out the recoil patterns on your builds. But when it comes to shooting the dummies, keep in mind these are not super accurate. While the damage for the most part should be relatively okay now that they've updated things in the past, there's still some issues with things like snipers. Some of the one-shot ones don't one-shot in the firing range when they do in-game, and there can be some one-off instances there where the firing range just is not accurate. So don't trust the dummies for full TTK stats is basically what you need to look out for there. And then lastly here, when it comes to weapons, obviously Call of Duty is always promoting the heck out of the store bundles and the weapon blueprints. But truth be told, the weapon blueprints, while there's plenty that look awesome, I'm a huge fan of some of the art that goes on in some of the blueprints, the builds do not use weapon blueprints from a competitive standpoint without changing the actual builds, because a lot of these are not ideal. They might say in the description that the blueprint is built out for great long range effectiveness and easy control, but they're probably not using the most efficient attachments on them. Certain guns, you know, further on into the year absolutely come bundled with the meta attachments because they're trying to force more sales from that specifically, but a lot of these weapon blueprint builds, the default builds, are not good with the attachments that they give you, and that unfortunately means you probably have to destroy the look of these blueprints by putting on the meta attachments. But don't trust the pre-made builds for being actually, you know, meta setups. They might be usable, but they're definitely not the best of the best. So, you know, you factor in all these things into your gameplay, whether it's the settings, the on menu stuff, the in-game stuff, you're instantly going to see major changes in your ability to win more gunfights, stay alive for longer in the game, you know, win gulags, whatever the case may be. These mistakes and avoiding them should help you instantly improve across the board. Hopefully that is the case. If the video helped you out or you simply enjoyed it, do me a favor, drop a like on it. And if you're new here, you want to guarantee you're always up to date, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.